We can move on from this, Ewok. Do you want to get into, now I know we're like a week late on this, but I think that we need to talk about it a little bit because of what it could mean longer term and because of some of the specific things that were said. But we had Richard come out last week and start posting things. Countless posts, I don't even remember, but there was one kind of chief thread that he made where he just replied to everybody. The comments have been open for a while, but he has not engaged directly with a community like this in a forward-facing manner in, I don't know, 3-4 years, I want to say. And he was in there mixing it up, doing Q&As with people in the comments. No, he hasn't streamed again yet, which I know a lot of people are clamoring for, and he's perfectly aware that people enjoy that. But he went in here, did a lot of Q&A, answered a lot of questions. People gleaned a lot from some of it. Others, people were asking him, like, what's your favorite TV show of all time and shit like that. Yeah. And obviously the term cryfaggers was born out of this, directed at our friend Corey Costa, who, to his credit, I will say, and, Corey's had a rough time of some things the last few years. I mean, haven't we all? But, he has kind of taken that in stride. He got called a cryfagger by the man. And, hey, he's still posting his deadlifting all-time high videos and talking about cryfagging in the gym. So shout out.
And he owned it. He did own it. He said, yeah, I guess I have been complaining a little bit. I mean, so that was good on him for, taking it like a champ. So
I agree.
One of the most important, I think, comments that kind of came out of this whole thing, though, I don't remember where it was or at what point, but somebody did ask him as, hey, if we can set up some interviews with some bigger name people, would you do them? And he said, yes, absolutely. So
yeah,
the whole live streaming thing, just because he hasn't done it, he said if we can get something set up with somebody that has substantially more followers, that he would be willing to do it. So I thought that was a good thing. How about you?
Yeah, I thought that was good. One thing that I think, not saying that it relates to that one, but just that I think with Richard, like, I don't even mean this in a conspiratorial way. I mean, I don't think he always means on its face exactly what he's saying whenever he says certain things. So I took some things as like tongue in cheek or didn't know how much to believe some of the things that he said. Honestly, beyond anything specific that was said, I was more interested just that he was doing this. I mean, what does that say in itself? Because, you look at the actions, you look at the behaviors of something somebody does, not necessarily what they're saying. What is this? Does this intimate anything to you? Because obviously, I saw Ian from, I don't remember his last name, but he's on with B Roots and stuff all the time. He's the UFC fighter guy.
Yeah.
He asked multiple times, like, hey, any updates on the Interpol situation? Interpol. And, we were kind of discussing what it is that Richard actually said in response earlier, but he would never actually type that word out. But it sounded like, I thought he said, like, no updates on it. You said that Richard said, I'm not answering any questions about that entity. So,
yeah,
curious on your thoughts on his responses there. Or again, just looking at the behavior that he's engaging in this manner and getting kind of bull market sassy Richard again, it seems like maybe some clarity could be coming. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah, the fact that he wouldn't answer, and he did, I forget how it was worded, whether he said, I'm not going to discuss anything that starts with inter or anything that ends in pool or something like that.
Yeah.
I was looking for the actual comment, and I can't seem to track it down. It was in the middle of all of this mess, but not really a mess. There is a lot of good questions in here that he thoughtfully answered, many of them, and it took him several hours. And he's like, I'll be back in a couple hours for more enriching engagement. I thought that was cool. He's taking a break, but I will be back. And then shortly after, he said, back and ready for more education. I think it was right after this is when, right here, actually, so dudes, finding convos hidden almost 20 different threads and having to recheck occasionally is unbearable. So anything else you want to talk about that don't end
Yeah.
Start with enter,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, that was the exact comment that I was talking about. It's so
There is something that is actually interesting. I sent you this exact reply, Ewok, if you check your messages from me. Um, with because I really wanted to get Richard's views on what is happening with the macro market. You saw I asked him kind of directly about a timeline and for his thoughts about this bull cycle going into 2026. I didn't get a response, but he did respond to Eric's thoughts at Eric's thoughts.
yeah.
And yeah, I sent it to you. Eric said, I can't believe not a single person has asked you what your thoughts are on the length of this cycle and where we are at in this cycle. 4-year cycle versus extended versus all the other theories. This is one of the main superpowers, one of your main superpowers, and people are instead asking you about keyboards. He says, Richard does, it's harder to call a top when gold is up 60% on the year and 2.3x in 2 years. S&P 500 is up 60% in 2 years. If the dollar is just going to lose versus all assets, you'd think crypto might just be waiting for whatever government or legacy finance guys to run it up once everything else is already run up as far as imaginable. So I don't want to say he sounds as in the dark as everybody else, but I mean, it sounds like he's saying all signs point to it's still going to happen. I don't know when, but it's still going to happen, and this idea, I mean, notice he didn't really say anything about timing there. Like, it's going to happen by this time. Just that what I think we should be focusing on that we talked about earlier in the show, focusing more on like, what are the behaviors of the market? What's happening with macro? Forget about when this will happen, but all the signs are there. It's all starting to look good and it should pour back into crypto. So I like what he said here. Maybe I should have just read into that a little bit more instead of asking my extra question later, but I think he kind of answered it. So what are your thoughts on what he said here?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think so. A lot of times when he has called tops or bottoms, there were so many signals out there. And what he's saying right now is everything's going up. And usually when that happens, it does rotate in, but when? We know it's going to happen eventually. It will happen. It's just a matter of how long or when. They know we are the dollar is getting devalued every day with some of this stuff, and when assets go up like that, again, people will rotate in. We were just talking about that with gold and into Bitcoin, and then into Ethereum, then into altcoins. All this stuff plays a major part in that. But how long does it go up for? And it's really hard to tell when the manipulation is happening, when it'll be done, right? Is there a bigger plan? Are they going to collateralize the gold to invest money? I mean, some of these entities are quite large. And again, just a reminder, the market cap of gold is $28.6 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
What's our debt? It's pretty close to that, right? I mean, that's a shit ton of money. So yeah, I mean, he's just basically saying everything's going up. It's got to be. It's a matter of time until things get rotated in. But as far as picking a date, he's not willing to do it because who knows how long it'll be manipulated for until the right scenario kind of plays out.
Well, also, like we've talked about many times, you pick a date. When do you get married to that, and how dangerous is that? This is the problem, I think, with a lot of these people that, again, what is your definition of a 4-year cycle, I guess? But a lot of people are like, if we're not at the top by December, we're screwed, basically. I mean, if you're 100% married to that, okay, and hey, maybe that rule will still apply for Bitcoin. I mean, like Ethereum has a shit ton of ground to make up. I mean, the altcoin index has a shit ton of ground to make up against Bitcoin. So maybe the Bitcoin people will be right. Hey, yeah, you were right. Congratulations. Yes, Bitcoin will top out in December. It'll go to like 150K, and then everything else will go up only for 3 or 4 or 6 months, and Bitcoin will do nothing. So congratulations. There you go. You were right about Bitcoin. And then everybody beat you at a submission for the next few months. So anyway.
Hex Girl brings up a good point too. It says we're in the process of a new financial system. I think going to gold-backed money and the removal of central banks. Um, Interesting theory that they are propping everything back up with the gold.
Mhm.
Again, we know it's manipulation, and we know it's probably mostly from government entities that are buying it up. That is a an idea that I hadn't heard recently anyway, but very, very much possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff, Hexgirl. Do you have any other stuff from Richard that maybe was just at top of mind for you, and any of these replies, or anything that you thought was encouraging, discouraging, or anything like that?
Nothing discouraging. I didn't see any negativity really about anything he was talking about. Um, you know, no, I didn't. I was just trying to think. So many people trying to read into what he was saying to spin their agenda, and I just didn't get any of that. So I'm sure there are people out there that did and would read into it and take the third word of every sentence or third letter of every sentence and make it spell something. But
Right.
um, I didn't see anything negative. I mean, he was calling things out, rightfully so. He was supporting other things. He was, people were asking for more accolades. I saw Internet Money say, "Hey,
Mhm.
can you give us a shout out?" He's like, "Hey, you're first
Oh,
on the list.
you're already on the
What
page.
what more do you want?" kind of thing. So, he was being as real as real could be, I think, with most people, and I just thought that was pretty genuine.
I'll ask you this one because you brought it up earlier, and a lot of people were like, "Okay, yeah, that's the most bullish tweet of this whole thing." Was whenever he said, "I don't care about all season, I care about our season," and it's like, yeah, cool, like bull market Richard. That sounds awesome. That's the kind of stuff you want your leader to say.
Yeah.
But I wonder, to analyze it and pick out every third word and everything like you just said. Um, is there any indication there about like I know Richard wants Pulse Chain and like he did it with Hex. Like he wants his stuff to be like decorrelated from the rest of the market,
Right.
run when nothing else is, make a bunch of people ape into it, like which is good because just by the nature of that, you're like the shining city on the hill, and then people just
Exactly.
start flocking to you. So yeah, it creates its own snowball effect just by that timing. So I think that's great. But it also made me wonder, like, what are his ideas of like, well, what if Ethereum is not as aggressive as I thought it may have been this cycle? What if altcoins and the aggregate don't run like they have in the past? What would like our season look like in that case? Like, I'm not saying he was saying that there isn't going to be an alt season by that, but I don't know. I guess I'm just wondering, like, could there be anything you could glean from that, that like maybe things don't run as hard against Bitcoin as they used to, which so far they haven't at all. Um, is there, I don't know, what is there some other kind of pulse chain centric season that he believes could still be created, even with Ethereum not doing anything, even though he's taking a huge bet on Ethereum, obviously.
Well, whether he took a huge bet on it or not, I mean, that's where a lot of the assets probably were the safest.
Yeah.
And again, we've talked about this, the reasoning behind all the stablecoin shift into Ethereum. It was not trying to time the market. It was safety reasons, right? Most likely. As far as that goes, if he's going to time anything, um, you would think you would want millions of people to have these tablets, not just a couple 100,000. So there is some time there as far as that goes. And if nothing happens, I agree with you completely. Why wouldn't you want to be the only thing in crypto pumping? I mean, you want eyes on you? That's how you get it. You're the only thing that's moving in the middle of an alt season when everything's going up and you could throw a dart and hit something and buy it and most likely make out okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's not when you really want your chain to do well. I mean, obviously you want it to do well when everything else is doing well too. But the ideal time is when nothing else is happening, kind of like Solana when it had its own run and all those meme coins, the meme mania was happening there. everybody was going into Solana, whether they were on it originally or not. People were going there just to try and make some money. So when you're the only thing in town happening, your place is usually pretty busy. So I think it's a good thing. Again, I think the timing is still a little off. I think, you want those things in many, many households so that when they do look it up, they can see, oh, this is going up. It's starting to go up. Maybe not a bad idea to put a little bit of money here. So yeah, I think it's a lot of it is timing. A lot of it is planned out pretty strategically, and we just kind of have to again sit back and wait. If you're already overly invested, sit back and wait, and the time will be right. The scenario will play out, and it'll be fine.
Hash commenting here kind of on that comment from Richard too. He says, do you think RH means to pump with chain deep in bear market when then with the 4-year cycle, his cycle, not in the alt season? I mean, I don't think anything gets to pump in a bear market. It's just, look at it right now. Like we're seeing right now the power and the forces of a bad macro environment, what it does to everything. Like Richard cannot overcome that. Like regardless of how powerful of a man you think he is or how much money he may have, you can't overcome it. So what does he do in those instances? Sits back and waits for the conditions to be right. Like, quite contrary, I would say, Hash. Like, I think it would be just like we saw last cycle. 2022, he disappeared. You know what I mean? Like, he just wasn't present as much. We had the outrage marketing stuff, which he talked about that a lot the other day too, actually. Yeah. But no, I don't think that I don't think he had a choice. If things are bearish throughout the world like that, I don't think, as much as he would want his stuff to be running when other stuff is absolutely being massacred, it's just going to get sold right back down. I think it'll be a terrible use of capital and resources, honestly. So, yeah, I don't really think that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, another thing too, when he was talking about, the marketing, the outrage and things like that, and commenting on how low his follower count really was.
Yeah.
That was surprising too. I haven't really looked at his follower count lately, but it has kind of fallen off. So he's got some work to do.
Yeah. His YouTube's at like 100 and some K subs or something like that. But I mean, it's not like he's making content. So
right.
You're not going to get subs, obviously. Just the way it goes.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't know he has a YouTube channel, probably.
It's quite possible. People that have come in the last 2 years. I mean, we've all talked about the content that's there. It'll be there. It's archived there. But yeah, I mean, newer people discovering him or coming across him. That's how a lot of us found him in 2017. Right. Was coming across one of his videos and or a video of him in this top hat trying to give you tips. So there was, again, that needs to come back as well. And it kind of all has to happen. I don't want to say simultaneously, but all intertwined in one way or another, I think.